Today, I woke up feeling like I got hit by a bus. This is probably the most sore I've been since I can really remember. And I wasn't working out, doing my typical exercise regime. I tried something new. So I'm in Mexico and I decided to go surfing, thinking it's gonna be super chill, but it's not like surfing behind a boat, which I'm typically used to. This is in the ocean, which is a completely different animal. You have to swim out, which is exhausting within itself, past all these massive waves crashing down on you. But then you have to swim to try to catch these waves. You don't really feel the exhaustion right away until I woke up today. I felt so compressed in my shoulders, so tight, there was clicking going on, my traps and my neck was sore. So I had to figure out what is the best course of action to recover from this crazy muscle and fascia soreness. This is true to anything. If you're trying any new activities or even going to the gym and trying something new or a new exercise regime, what are you gonna do when you wake up so sore to help recover yourself the fastest possible way? And if you're new to anything, you're gonna be sore for quite a while until your body starts getting more used to that form of exercise that you're doing. So in this video, I'm gonna show you what I did to recover myself from this crazy surfing experience. The reason why I'm looking out is because the waves are right there. It's pretty comical. I'll get it. I'll get the surfing down at some point on this trip, but it's not gonna be today, unfortunately. But I wanna show you how I can recover from this very quickly and some key tips that you can do from breathing, fascia decompression, certain exercises. I know you might not think exercises are gonna expedite your healing process, but it will, and some other cool tips so you can integrate this throughout your entire body. So let's get started, and I'm gonna show you what I did to really recover my shoulders, my upper back, my traps, and my neck. Number one is intentional diaphragmatic breathing, but this isn't just expanding your belly with the inhale and then making it smaller with the exhale. This is expanding your entire rib cage through the inhalation phase and then making it smaller as you exhale. The shoulders and the scapula are being supported by the rib cage, and if the rib cage is compressed, it's gonna be pulling the shoulder and the shoulder blade out of alignment. So the first thing I do is lay on my back, brace the core slightly as I fully exhale. You're gonna see what I'm doing here. And then as I hold that slight brace core, I'm gonna inhale so that I feel my entire rib cage expanding in that inhalation. Now, when you inhale, your ribs are gonna start to externally rotate and decompress. And then when you exhale, they're going to internally rotate and come a little closer together. So I perform 3 rounds of 10 full breaths like this, and just off the hop, you already start noticing a difference, even if you have the pain in your shoulders or in your hips, wherever it really is located. But regardless, activating the breath is going to expedite the healing when we start integrating a fascia decompression technique and some exercises and movements to really oxygenate the body, create a release throughout the body, and recover you as fast as possible. Number 2 is performing a fascia decompression technique. Now, this is something I didn't want to do, but I had to do because I knew this was going to help me open up my body again and recover and feel somewhat normal again. Now, I use, of course, my block, which is from block therapy, but if you don't have a block, use this rolled up towel. And I'm gonna show you some positions that I did to help with my shoulders, but rule of thumb whenever you're performing a fascia decompression technique is staying in a position isometrically for a minimum of 3 minutes. But you also want to be able to activate the proper diaphragmatic breath. You don't ever want to be holding your breath. It's the combination of the pressure and the breath, which is really going to help release the connective tissue. So these are the positions that I did to help me release my shoulders and start feeling some sort of relief. First off, I started positioning the block directly in the upper side ribs. Now this is right where the shoulder blade is in alignment. And I started off isometrically, just in a neutral position on my left side. I bent my left elbow, rested my head in my hand, and I started to connect to my breath. So as I inhale, my belly and my rib cage is expanding. As I exhale, I make my belly and rib cage nice and small. as I'm here settling in, there's pain, there's discomfort, and that's normal. But as long as you're breathing, you're gonna start to release and recover this area. Then you can start slowly searching towards the front, spend a minute or so there, and then you can slowly start searching towards the back, spend another minute or so there. So totaling approximately 3 to 5 minutes. And you're sore anyway, so you may as well spend the time there. The more time typically means the more release you're gonna get, but the sweet spot is 3 to 5 minutes. Then I switched over and I did that same position on the other side to create some balance and symmetry. And then I moved the block up into the armpit. Now this is painful because you can be working in the rotator cuff directly under the shoulder joint, even searching towards the front, which is gonna tie into some pretty interesting and painful areas. So very similar position and setup. The block was on its side. You can of course use the rolled up towel. And then I started in that neutral position. Connect to your breath. Once you've settled in, you can slowly start surging towards the front. And if you want, you can start moving your arm around slightly just to create some movement as we're decompressing this area. And then I came back to neutral, surged towards the backside. This was really painful for me because it felt like my rotator cuffs were torn for whatever reason. But even doing this position, it helped release my traps. My traps in my neck weren't in nearly as much tension just after doing these two positions. So once I spent 3 to 5 minutes here, I exhaled up and off, and then I performed this position on the right side. So I did a total of 4 positions, 2 on each side, and then I moved into some movements. So number 3, all I really had to do here was assess on where my body was, and it felt collapsed like this and my shoulders were internally rotated. So performing an external rotation was really painful. So of course I worked in and moved into that pain. That's a massive indicator where you're compressed and where we need to start addressing. But just releasing initially opened up this entire area, the rotator cuff, the shoulder blade, to perform this exercise a little bit more properly. So what I did, I laid flat on my back to start. I bent my knees just like this. I slightly braced my core and I had my elbows and my wrists all touching the floor. Focusing on the breath was the most important thing here. And we already did this in step 1, breathing through the diaphragm and expanding the entire rib cage, but we want to do that while we perform this exercise also. As I have my arms out to the side, I call these dynamic W's, I inhale with a slight brace core so that I feel the rib cage in the front and the back starting to expand, and then I exhale. Just get used to that for a moment. And then what I do is I exhale and I bring my arms directly overhead, and then I held that for an inhalation, really expanding the entire rib cage, and then I would exhale and bring the arms down as far as I could. I couldn't get that far because I was in so much pain. But then I held that for an inhalation as well. So now I'm going to the end ranges while activating the muscles. When I'm at that end range, I focus on that inhalation. So when I exhale, I'm gonna be performing the movement. When I'm holding, I perform that inhalation. And then when I exhale, I perform that movement again. So I did approximately 8 to 10 repetitions like this. You don't have to do that many, but this worked really well for me. And then I did a total of 3 sets. After I did that, I started feeling immediately better. Now there's other movements you can do, absolutely. You can get creative, you can do some stretches, but definitely move a bit. Don't do strenuous exercise, but create some movement so that the fascia and the muscles can start to release and get activated. We want to pump more blood and oxygen flow into that damaged area. The 4th thing is, of course, make sure you're very hydrated. So because where I am right now in Huatulco, Mexico, it's very easy to get dehydrated. So I need to have my electrolytes, drink a lot of water, but also have a healthy diet, eating as many whole foods as I can for myself. That's getting the macro and the micronutrients in. I'm not gonna get into a whole nutrition talk because it's different per person. 5th is sleep. Make sure you prioritize your sleep and try to get into a deep sleep. I'm trying to sleep 8-9 hours if I am this sore. And that's just what makes the most sense for me. But before I go to bed, I focus on the breathing again. When you focus more on the exhalation, that's gonna trigger your parasympathetic nervous system, which is gonna bring you into that state of relax. You're gonna feel more chill, and that's gonna allow you to fall asleep a little bit quicker and get into a deeper sleep. Try out this routine. Now, if you are sore in different areas, then perform these fascia decompression techniques. Let's say your hips are sore or your knees are sore, around those areas. Work both above and below. Then start creating some movement in these areas. Don't just sit on a couch all day. That's the worst thing that you can do. Let me know in the comments below if this has helped you out, if you found this information helpful. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and hopefully I catch a wave. We'll see you guys in the next video.